Everyone, I'm so happy you're here. This is really, really exciting. Let's just start with one question for everyone. And in it, maybe do you want to be like, here's your name and here's where people might know you from or the things that you do? Yeah,
sure, absolutely. Yes.
Let's start over here with
we're
Shelby.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. My name is Shelby, also known on YouTube as Shelbizzle. I always have to say it because people don't. That's like a young thing I made. I shouldn't have done it. But anyway, I make content about sustainable living, sustainable education, environmentalism, all those kind of things. And I'm on all the platforms because you have to be. And I'm sure we'll get into all of that today.
Love it. Thank you, Shelby from Shelbizzle. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna stick with it. It's gonna come back.
Okay.
The Izzles were here, and then they're coming back.
I appreciate that.
I've got no doubt.
We're going long on Izzles on this stage. Hi, my name is Rollie Williams. I have a YouTube channel. It's a climate comedy deep dive channel called Climate Town. We just got one fan. Thank you so much.
Woo!
Here's that $20 I owe you. We just got merch made in North Carolina, and so I'm wearing the shirt now. What was the other part of the question? That was it, right?
That was it.
Hey.
So only North Carolinians can buy your merch?
No, it's just made exclusively from like 5 different places within 20 miles of like their headquarters in North Carolina, so it doesn't like go to Bangladesh to get the tag sewn on and then China to get the screen printed and all that stuff.
Yeah, you're doing it the right way. Love
Thank you.
Love
They're $190. No, I'm just joking.
Oh my gosh.
They're not cheap, but they're not $190.
Perfect. No follow-up questions. Keep it vague. All right, Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark Vins with the Brave Wilderness YouTube channel. We make wildlife and adventure videos. Been traveling around the world making content now for going on 10 years. Predominantly, people know us as YouTubers, but we're on all the platforms. We make documentaries, television series, and a lot of other fun stuff along the way.
That's so good. Thanks and Mark came from Boston. Thank you for being here.
Oh,
No?
happy to be here. This weather's amazing.
Yeah. Tell that to the people hovering in the shade.
In the shade.
What is it
We
like
need
in
more
Boston?
vitamin D, everybody. Let's get out here.
Everyone's like, oh, yeah, okay, good suggestion. Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Wawa Gatheru. I'm a climate justice activist. I have a background in environmental justice scholarship, and I'm the proud founder and executive director of the national nonprofit Black Girl Environmentalist.
Oh! Wawa, let's start with you, and then we'll come back down and we'll bounce around. And everyone, feel free to comment or jump in or anything. Wawa, I saw this interview that you did recently, and you said that someone asked you, how do you stay hopeful? And I was like, what is she going to say? And you talked about hope as a discipline. And part of me is like, how, if hope is a discipline, right? How do we grow the muscle of hope? And I know this is a storytelling, creator, business panel, but I want to start with that. I want to start with because I think if it's in business or if it's specifically about climate, how do we grow the muscle of hope?
Yeah, well, I'm so excited to be here. I lived in Seattle for a summer in 2019, so it's really cool to be back. So yeah, I really do believe that hope is a discipline. And that question, the context of why it was asked is, I feel like at the end of every climate panel, people always ask climate people, what gives you hope? Because I think sometimes they want to borrow it, especially as a youth climate justice activist. People always turn to the next generation as the ones with the answers. And there is a lot of answers that we have, and there's leadership that we hold, but oftentimes when people are asking of that, they are removing themselves from the solution. In regards to hope being a discipline, I think it's something that you earn, right? Hope isn't something that you can borrow from being inspired by any of the incredible people up here or any people that you look up to in the climate space. Hope is something that you have to facilitate for yourself, and it's facilitated through action, and through action that feels good for you. We all have unique skills, talents, spheres of influence. So our role in this movement is really carved out by figuring out what those things are, what makes you feel good, and really getting in there. And I think that's where hope comes from, and that's where sustainable hope comes from, because it's so personal. It only works for you. And when we all come together with our unique dimensions of where our hope is coming from, then we create better solutions.
I love it. I love it.
Wow, that's a hell of a question to start off on.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Now we gotta go for after that.
Yeah. And Mark, what is faith to you? No,
My gosh.
yeah.
Where do you get your ideas from?
How do you live out your beliefs day to day? I'm going to ask you just as an interesting question. But thanks. Well, that's super beautiful and thoughtful. Actually, I have a follow-up. You founded Black Girl Environmentalist, and it is like this community, people, and it's uplifting each other. Do you think, like, what is specifically when it comes maybe to hope? Like, it feels like community is a cornerstone of that. Part of me is like, wow, you've created this beautiful thing that gives people hope and gives you hope. Was that like intentional when you were, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think so and not so. I think people are creating their own hope, right? The goal for Black Girl Environmentalist is to first and foremost address the pathway and retention issue that exists in the climate sector. People of color make up nearly 40% of the US population, but we don't exceed a 12 to 16% green ceiling. And Black women have amongst the lowest retention rate in this space, which just doesn't work for leadership because Black women are incredible leaders and have so much to contribute to this movement. In cultivating the space that is Black Girl Environmentalist, even outside of our programming, with our hub program, which is chapters across the country, we have trained hub leads that facilitate ecosystems of care, as we call them. Those are community spaces where folks are able to connect and build community. And I think community is key. Community is power, especially in a movement that can oftentimes people will succumb to burnout or will feel overwhelmed with the gravity of the issue, which is very real and true. But when you have community, when you have folks that you can lean on and rely on, it allows us to get to that next level of sustainability.
I love it. Mark, you've got a huge community. Okay, you've got 20 million subscribers, over 20 million subscribers, which is so many. So someone counted 20 million just to show you, sir, in the hat, and we'll wait just to illustrate. You've got 20 million subscribers. Part of me is like, amazing. That's a community you've built, people who love your stuff. And part of me, and this could be just me, would be like, that's so much pressure from 20 million people who maybe want a certain type of content. So if you got a little too prescriptive or political or, you know, whatever, they might be like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm here to see a specific thing. How do you balance the pressure of having a large audience and like pleasing them, but also wanting you to do things for the artistic sake and the things you want to say? How do you balance that?
Geez. Yeah, 21 million subscribers is not something we thought was even in the remote realm of possibility when we started. But, you know, to be honest with you, it hasn't really changed that much over the years because like every single creator out there, we started with 0 subscribers. So, you know, the passion and the curiosity that drives our content and the ideas that start the video process, it's always been the same. Now, with that being said, of course, when you have a large audience, you have to start to listen to a lot of different voices, and you get a lot of great feedback from the platforms that we work with. So in terms of how we balance the pressure, it's more of a balance of what you want to make and why. So, you know, me, I'm a wildlife nerd at heart. I love frogs. I love bugs. I love playing in the dirt. I'm like a 5-year-old running around the world with a video camera. So, you know, when it comes though to the business side of Brave Wilderness, we do want to make sure we're relevant. We want to make sure that, you know, we're getting a lot of traffic. So that pursuit does dictate the style of content, how we're telling our stories, how we strategize the videos themselves to get the most traction. But when you get to the end of it, you're still making the same stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever, and this is for you and for anyone, have you ever put something out that you're like, I know the audience might not like this? And
all the time.
What motivated that? Were you just like, I like it? Like what motivate, or were you like, I need to say this? Or were you like, you know what, audience, change with me? Like what motivates you to put something that you know the audience might not dig? And everyone feel free. Shelby, you're also saying, yeah. So after Mark, if you want to jump in.
A really important ingredient to becoming a successful creator, in my opinion, is experimentation. So when I think about like I'm making this content for myself or my own interest, what I'm really saying is I'm going to try something new. And that can open the door to a whole new world of possibility and can really alleviate that feeling of like stagnation. Because, you know, just like musicians change their sound album to album. Creators evolve, and you want to do things differently and up the game, as you will. But in terms of the real genesis of it all, I think it always boils down to curiosity and inspiration, and experimentation is just part of that.
So there's times that your curiosity and experimentation outweighs what you feel are just to say that very clearly, what you feel are the expectations.
Yeah, I mean, the expectations are, we want to grow and we want to continue to have very successful videos, and we're aiming for, multi-million views per video. But then there's sometimes we make a video and we're like, you know what? We're just going to let this one fly and see if we can go.
I love it.
Can I say I have never put out a video that I've been confident about? I think every single time I put a video out, I'm like, this is the video that people find out I'm a hack. And they tear down my YouTube page brick by brick. And so it's nice to have them not tank every time. That. Yeah, no problem. I'm very vulnerable.
So vulnerable.
Yeah. What are we over holding hands? Hell yeah.
I also just wanted to add to that. I love Rollie. You're hilarious.
Thank you.
That when I started making content, like we all make content relative to sustainability, but I specifically started out doing lifestyle. And so a lot of what that means is like telling you how to switch this thing for this product and those sort of things. It was a very like looking through a very individualistic lens, I would say, when I started making content. And it was easy to do that then. Well, me as a person, and therefore me and my content have shifted over time to where I no longer want to influence you to like buy a reusable water bottle. My goal now is to influence people to give up consumerism for community, and making that shift in my content was terrifying, and I still have to balance it out. But the answer to the question of if I ever put out something and I'm terrified of it, the answer is yes, because sustainable living and switching your products is so much more tangible and obvious to people, but explaining why community and hope and activism is more important, not so easy to communicate. And I don't always trust that I'm a good communicator in that. So
yeah, I'm so inspired because a bunch of your videos are like de-influencing and like you're like things not to buy, like the anti-haul, right? You're like, these are things not to and part of me, it's talking about expectation. Part of me is like that relationship with advertisers and sponsors has to be more complicated than a traditional influencer YouTuber. If you're actively being like, my thesis is don't buy things.
Yeah.
How do you think about that? Right? How do you, simple question, how do you operate in a consumer, capitalistic world as an, pretty anti-capitalist, rebellious channel?
For sure. Yeah. So I graduated from college and I went in to do like my first big girl job, and it was with the state environmental agency, and the same fossil fuel company showed up on my desk every week, and I wanted to do something that like meant more to me. And in 2016, all I knew of influencers and content creators online were makeup gurus. And it was so easy and so obvious of how they were making money. They were selling the products that they were using in the videos. I didn't know how I could do that from an anti-consumerism perspective, but I set out to figure it out. I had to figure it out somehow. So a lot of my content, revolves around the haul video being the big thing back in 2016. And the anti-haul was born out of the culture of trying to shift the haul culture. And when, as a business, a creator business, the relationship between sponsors and brands is definitely different, because every creator turns down a ton of things that come into their inbox, but for me, I feel like it's so much more than the average creator, and speaking to them, it definitely is. But I try to keep certain buckets of brands that I work with. So I try to work with brands that are more sustainable alternative to products that already exist. Like my phone case is made of compostable materials instead of plastic. So I found ways to still make money, the majority of my income still coming from sponsorships, without promoting needless consumerism. And I'm sure all of you guys have experience in this as well. I don't think any of us on this stage are into promoting needless consumerism. But I found that there is an audience out there who is ready to shift the culture away from so much consumerism to a little bit more community. Yeah.
Rollie, you raised your mic. Were you gonna say something?
Oh, there was a moment where I was gonna throw in like, I can be bought, people, if you have the money. And then the moment passed, and I thought I seamlessly camouflaged it, and then
now
nothing
I
gets past
forced you.
Esteban.
Now I forced you.
You guys, give it up real big for Esteban Gast, the host, please. He's honestly out here working his ass off today, and I really do want to say Esteban is top drawer. So
Wow.
just FYI.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And Climate Town T-shirts are for sale now. Only if you live in North Carolina.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Type North Carolina in at the checkout. And yours
offer code North
discount
Carolina.
code?
Yeah, the easiest one to guess.
Rollie, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Climate Town.
Thanks, man.
And I'm not shy about that. I'll tell anyone, unprompted.
I'll scream it at them.
And recently, or not too recently, but recently-ish, and over the lifespan of Climate Town, you started a podcast called the Climate Deniers Playbook.
That's right.
And I'm curious, and for you and then for everyone, like, how do you think about if you've got an audience, if you're rocking in YouTube specifically, what is the thought process to say, you know what, let's do podcasts? Or for everyone else, like, yeah, how do you think you're doing well in one platform? How do you think about other platforms? So if you want to take that, and then we can all converse.
Sure. Yeah, I think other platforms are really hard for me because the editing process is I get all the footage and then I feverishly edit it for 14 hours a day for 2 to 3 weeks. And when I hit publish on a YouTube page or a YouTube video, I'm like, I'm never touching this footage again. I don't turn it into a TikTok. I don't turn it into an Instagram. I'm done with it, and I don't look at it again. And that's a bad way to do it. And so now I have an assistant editor who's doing some of that for me. But the podcast is nice because you can work with your friends and just have a conversation with your friends. And then that counts. That counts as a podcast. Just talking to people. That's content. This is content. What we're doing right now, content. Put it on the Flapjack app or whatever. And so my co-host Nicole Conlon, who is a writer for The Daily Show. Also, I lucked out big. I went to elementary school with Nicole, and we became friends. And I've just been riding her coattails all the way over, and now she's a writer on The Daily Show. It's like such a huge get for me. Nobody tell her, but I owe her huge. And yeah, so she's the co-host of the podcast. I thought that was
that's community. Community, yeah. The power of community.
Yeah.
Were you looking at numbers or anything, saying people might want more? You're releasing like one video a month-ish. Like, were you like, people might want more, and maybe the podcast fulfills that? Like, was that a thought process you had? Or were you like, you know what, this is just interesting, let me do it?
I think the videos just are so punishing to do that I was looking for something that didn't take 160 hours of my time to crank out. And so podcasts are a really nice kind of backdoor bit of content you can do.
Yeah. So your pitch about the podcast is less effort.
Yeah, sometimes I don't even have to. I just show up. They just tell me where to be, and I sit down in a chair, and I just like yell at Nicole for 2 hours, and then they edit it.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
How does everyone else think about multi-platform? Like, when do you go to another platform? When do you try to bring your audience elsewhere? Even when do you like take your personal audience and move them to the community, right? To Black Girl Environmentalists. Like, I follow you, but and I'm like, do I follow Black Girl Environmentalist to show support, or like, do I send it, to the Black women in my life? Like, how do you think about funneling that audience into different areas?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because honestly, I'm trying to. It's a really interesting line to be on, right? Because I'm Wawa. I have my own page, which is just me talking about my life. Like, it's not that special. And then I have Black Girl Environmentalist, which is our Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn, et cetera, that's talking about a community. It's a nonprofit that is a team of full-time staff, and then a larger team of hub leads, and then folks that are involved in our programming, et cetera. So sometimes I see people will confuse Wawa as being Black Girl Environmentalist, and I'm like, no, they're actually two different things. This is a community that I help facilitate and helped found, but ultimately it's not mine. It is a shared entity Again, it's a community. It's something that is meant to empower the next generation of Black women climate leaders. And then Wawa is Wawa figuring things out as a mid-20-year-old person. So yes, please go follow Black Girl Environmentalist if you're interested. And yeah, that's how I would say that.
Yeah.
I think it's, you asked a question about, how do creators think about multi-platform? I think every creator has a home platform because you started somewhere. It's highly unlikely that you just became, relevant on all platforms at once. So wherever you start your community, generally there is a focus there. For Brave Wilderness, it's on YouTube. But I'll say to that, we have definitely put a lot of effort into redistributing to other platforms and being relevant on TikTok and on Instagram and anywhere that we can relicense or redistribute our content, even on like an SVOD or AVOD streaming service overseas. Because, one of the things that was also mentioned today was the nerves that you get when you release a video, and where that comes from is all the effort, all the resources that's poured into your content, the micro details that make up your strategy, which everyone has a different strategy. And then you never really know if you got it right. So if you can redistribute in a multi-platform way and hopefully remonetize that content, it can really take a lot of the burden from that pressure off of a creator and their team. So I'm glad to hear, Rollie, that you are now redistributing your content in new places.
You know so much more about this distribution thing. I need to talk to you after
Hey,
this.
man, let's hang.
All right. And it can be content even.
Content.
You can ask Mark a question now. Do you want to?
Where do you get your ideas from?
Oh, my gosh.
All right. Any question but that?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. But yeah, Mark. Yeah.
I would mean for us, like I mentioned earlier, it all stems from a place of genuine curiosity. Like, you can't really fake being a creator for more than a little while. So if you don't really love what you're doing, you're not going to make it more than a couple years. The burnout is extremely high for the non-intentional fakers out there. So if you're hanging around and you're really doing it, it's because you really love what you're doing, and that's where the ideas start from the love of the content. And for us, it's been like this big spider web that just continues to evolve. Like every time we go on a trip and I get to film new species or meet new groups that are doing great conservation work, they mention another person I should work with. And then it just like waterfall effects around the world. And it's kind of an amazing thing when you think about how much you can, communicate with people by just following your own passion.
I know that this is actually, raise your hand if you make content. Raise your hand if you're like, I'm a creator. Yeah, a bunch of people. Oh my goodness. And if you're watching, not at the computer, if you are. Oh, nice. Awesome. Do you feel a difference, Mark, with or Rollie, and everyone, Shelby, Wawa, now I'm just saying all the names, but it's like, is there even, wow, you said there was now there's a nonprofit, where is the shift from individual artist to now it's a business? And part of me would be like, do you lose some of the art? Like Frank Sinatra used to be like, I only sing. And he didn't do he was notoriously did not do anything else. He had a whole team and he's like, I show up and I sing. And he doesn't order on the menu the day he performs. He's like, I sing. And part of me is like, that's what, do you feel like now you are a mini CEO of a business and that gets in the way? Or what is that, right? Because I think a lot of people here create content and maybe they dream of an editor, right? Or they dream of being like, oh my gosh, you just have a whole system. And how do we bridge that gap? Or what does that bridge look like? And is that bridge a thing how do we prepare for that?
I would say that every content creator is a small business, first of all. So you need to, if you want to hang around and you want to build that team, you need to be thinking about, how you're going to monetize your content, how you're going to make great partnerships. Where do your ethics lie, right? Like you mentioned, we get a lot of offers from a lot of different people to sell things that we turn down because ethically we don't want to go there. But the art versus the industry, I think they are one and the same thing. I think that the craft that you become excellent at is the art, and it should get stronger and better as you move along. But if there's a reluctance to engage with the industry, you're gonna hit a limit. And I think that happens to a lot of creators, and they sort of end up in a place where they don't know where to go next. And by really engaging with a community of creators that are part of the industry, that just solves that answer right there. They're going to help you find out where to go next.
That's really that you just have to be like, there's a business side that you can't pretend that isn't a part of it. That's really interesting.
You should embrace it, really.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say I agree that you will reach a point in your business, because that's at the end of the day, we are businesses, where you can't go any further on your own because burnout is so real. And I'm speaking specifically to YouTube. Like, writing, researching, editing a video is so much more work than I think a lot of people realize. And my editor saved my life when I got her. So I do think, like, yeah, we all have to be thinking long term if we want this to be a career. And you have to buy into the industry at some point.
I want to add something here. As someone that like exists in the content creator influencer space, but then also kind of doesn't, I think there's two pressures that I feel like are really, really real right now. There's a big pressure to brand yourself always. And then there's second, a pressure to monetize every single thing, which can get really complicated if like there are hobbies or things that you just like to do for you. And then you're getting a lot of advice from people in your life that are like, okay, post this and then make money off of it, etc. I just want to say it's fine to not want to brand yourself. It's fine to not want to be a content creator. That is completely fine. And I think that there's a lot of pressure, particularly for early career individuals, that are being told that they have to brand themselves to get to the next place in their career. I'm not talking about people who want to be content creators. I feel like you kind of have to if you want to be a content creator. But for folks that don't want to be a content creator, if you don't want to, don't do it. Don't do it. Doesn't make you feel good. And then on the other hand, with the second thing that people, or I feel pressured to do around monetizing every different thing in my life, is there always should be things that you do for you. And you get to choose what that is. So don't feel pressured. Choose what you want to share with the world, but also choose the things that you want to keep to your heart and keep sacred for yourself.
Yeah, that totally resonates. Also, I feel like trying to get advice on I'm just starting out like a YouTube page. Like, I'll talk to a YouTuber who's like a little further along, and like, what do I do? I think there's like the only way to not get to where you want to go is to like listen to the advice that person has for you. I think like the trail to getting somewhere is so meandery and weird, and like you meet somebody in a bar and they're like, hey, my cousin works for a solar panel place, and then you do a video for them and like you blow up that way. It's just like such a crazy path that it's like the survivorship bias is so prominent that I think it's like you just kind of gotta trust the process, you know? You gotta trust the process, Esteban.
So you're saying things like panels where people share advice are totally useless?
No, do those. Those are actually those are actually more useful than anything.
This, yes.
Oh, but all
the other ones, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Honestly, we're at it, and that's the perfect closing.
Hey!
The perfect closing
Come
is,
back next year.
what do we know? In summary. Thank you so much. I wish we could talk so much longer. I said this before off stage, not into a microphone, but I mean it. I wish we could just hang out and talk so much more. But thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here for Bloomberg Green Festival. I know we talked more businessy and not too much climate. So I encourage everyone to like find out how climate intersects with all your work more meaningfully, because that's something I wish we talked a little bit more about. But thank you. Give it up for Shelby, for Rollie, for Mark, for Wawa. Make some noise. Thank you so much. And now you guys can very awkwardly leave that way, and I'll introduce the next thing. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Keep it going again.
Thank you.
You can find out Wawa Blacker Environmentalist, Mark Brave Wilderness, Rollie Climate Town, and Shelby Shelbizzle. Check them out. They're absolutely delightful.